Hello, welcome to my channel again. Today we're going to talk about, in the last video I talked about how to prepare the reed for playing. You can watch it in my channel. Today I'm going to talk about how to properly install a reed into the Duduk and take it out carefully so you don't damage the reed. And actually you don't damage your Duduk. I mean, you can't really damage the Duduk, but you're gonna probably, cause damage to the reed. And a lot of people done it before. And I think I remember when I started playing the Duduk back 4 years ago, um, I I I broken one reed myself. So I want to share this video with you, so you'll be kind of a careful out there and do know how, how to do it. So here's our reed right here, and let's say I'm gonna take my Duduk, and what you want to do, you want to hold you want to hold your reed in this position. You want to place it between the thumb and the index finger, and this is, I don't know if you can see, this is how you want to hold it. This is your Duduk, and you just put it in and apply a little bit of pressure, and you want to make sure your reed is aligned with the holes here, and it's a little bit off, so I'm gonna just twist it a little bit, apply a little bit of pressure. I mean, you don't want to put too much pressure, but you want to make sure your Duduk is properly seated, your reed is properly seated in a Duduk, because otherwise when you start playing or exercising, the air is gonna come out in between this this area right here when Duduk meets the reed, and your sound's gonna be, you're gonna be sounding goofy, and your sound's not gonna be clear and nice. You're gonna lose, like you're gonna lose some power, so-called power. So there's another important tip is when you inserting the reed into the Duduk, you want to make sure your cap is always closed. When you take it out or you taking it in, your cap's gotta be closed. So what you want to do after you start practicing, you want to hold it with these two fingers right here, your thumb and your index finger, twist it. I mean, what you want to do, actually, it's very important. Pay close attention to this. When you take your reed with the thumb and index finger and hug it, you want to move it a little bit side by side, and at the same time you want to kind of apply pressure outwards, so you take the reed off. So you do not twist it like you do when you put it in. You just put it in and twist it a little bit and apply a little pressure. When you take it out, you like move it side by side, very little movement, side by side, and then apply this pressure and take it off. There's a couple things here. If you just force it out, you might damage lower part of your reed. You might crack it. You might have a micro crack here, and you don't know. And eventually your reed will become worthless. You gotta throw it out. So again, got a Duduk, got your reed. Take your reed between your thumb and index finger, like this. Put it in and give it a little bit of twist and a little bit of pressure. Make sure it's aligned. Your reed is aligned with the Duduk. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfectly aligned, but as close as you can. So you're ready to play. You open the cap, you adjust your adjuster here, give it a more or less air, and then you're done playing. You close the cap, move this up always. When you're done playing and you're closing the cap, always move this up. Never leave it in a tight position, because you're gonna damage your reed. Always. Once you stop playing, this is going up. Cap closed. Got your reed with the thumb and index finger. Move it a little bit side by side and apply a little, and it's very easy. So yep, in this video actually I also want to talk about how to care about the reed, where to keep him, and how to care about your duduk, because your duduk actually made by wood. It's a precious apricot wood, and what you want to do is for duduk, I have I have this rug. It's already soaked in oil. It's a linseed oil. A linseed oil, which I usually buy from the farmers. They, you know, organically produced, very nice, high quality linseed oil, which I apply on the rug a little bit, and then I just go over the duduk and cover it. You know, do a little inside here, you know, and if you have too much oil, you can. If you have too much oil, you can just have a dry rug and just wipe it out, and just leave it in a dry place. You know, you don't want to leave it out in the cold. You don't want to keep it in a garage when, you know, it's extremely cold, because it's wood. And it's very important when actually the master makes the duduk, the wood is fresh, means the wood undergoes some kind of it will undergo some changes within the next 3 or 4 months, because it's getting, you know, as it's a fresh wood, it's, you know, it's a fresh cutly wood, and has a little bit of a stain coating on it to protect the wood. And but anyway, the wood will destroy, like it do a micro like it'll go through the micro deformation. I mean, you cannot see it with the naked eye, but it's a process when the wood, you know, getting like it goes through some stages, and during that few months you want to make sure you keep it oiled. And what I do with the new duduks, actually, these are new duduks, actually, these already sold. One is going to Saudi Arabia, one is going to France. What I did, actually, I filled, I'm using this, I already used the whole bottle here. This is a linseed oil right here. So what I do, I actually do little dips inside too, and then have a little rag here. I can show you. I have this little rock here with the weight. What I do, I just go in and just take it from the other side, make sure I oil everything inside, and leave it to dry for a day or two. So this is what I do every time I get a duduk, and actually sometimes I do it 2 or 3 times, and I do it once before I ship it too. Before I put it in a container, in a case, I always do that. So the wood, the linseed oil is the best oil to protect the wood, not only apricot, but any kind of wood. If you have a violin and have other musical instruments, it'll be very handy to have a linseed oil. Very handy. I have a lot of, I mean, I had quite a few duduks. I never had a duduk crack on me, but I've seen in the reviews that people complain that, you know, the duduk got cracked, or most likely, you know, some of them improper care, some of them, you never know, you know, probably maybe a few out of 100 duduks gets, you know, I mean, it gets cracked in the middle of the road. But again, I never had that happen to me, because I usually use duduks made by only 2 masters, and you know, one of the master MKS is my favorite duduk. He's the best well-known master in Armenia, and he makes the duduks for probably, I would say, top 20 duduk players in the world using his duduks at this moment. And they, you know, they priceless. They very affordable. Compare what you get, and But this video is not about it. I just wanted to share with you how to care for, you know, wooden duduks, and how to care well for your reed. And again, I'm just gonna go through over the important point for a reed. When you stop playing, this cap is always goes up. Always. Never use it you don't want to use it as intention, because your reed is gonna change its property, and eventually you're gonna shorten the life, or you're gonna make it worthless. You still want to keep, I mean, you don't have to apply any oil on your reed. Do not cover or do any oil on it. Some people, I had an email with a guy who told me he also covered the reed with the linseed oil, but it's not right, because the sound of the reed will become dull, and you won't do any better if you cover it with the oil, because everything what needs to be done is already done by master who prepared the reed. So he already covered the oil, he leave it in a fire. I mean, it's a special technique to make a reed. So do not be creative. Do not do or use any other oil or anything on the reed. It's ready to play. It's already, everything it needs to be done is done by the master. So yep, just want to go over the important points, how to care about your duduk. And there's another important thing. You want to keep, you do want to really keep the humidity out of your duduk. It means if you live in a state or in a country where it's a high humidity, make sure your duduk is not in a garage, and it's not in a basement somewhere under, or in a attic, but your duduk is in a house temperature, because humidity is not a good friend of the musical instruments. Not only duduk, but again, violin, contrabass, or other musical instruments. When have a wood and you know, wood instruments and other, you do not want to keep it in a humid environment. If you live in a country side or state where is it humid, try to keep your duduk in the house. I mean, you can take it out. Yeah, you can take it out in the winter and play it. That's no problem. But you know, as I said, linseed oil is your best friend. It's the best oil to protect a wooden service, and especially the abricot duduk. And make sure you got a new duduk. I usually go 2-3 times over, in and out, really good, before I ship it out to the customer. So so far everybody is very happy, and we'll see you in the next videos. Bye now.